All right, so as I mentioned, before we start with the training proper, this demonstration of Sarah, let me first give you a brief introduction or overview of the workflow. All right. All right, can you see my screen now? Is it clear?
Yes, Miss Yani.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
kita
you.
naman. Kita naman.
Yeah, so this is the workflow for ETD submission and management. So as you can see, we have here sets of steps, and we have the DLSU students, we have roles and assignments for ETD coordinators. OUR personnel also play an important role in this process. And then we have the library personnel. For the students, they have to log into the Animo repository using their MyLaSalle credentials for them to submit their manuscript, their ETD. When submitting the manuscript, the final version, the students must agree to the terms and conditions of the Animo repository submission agreement or consent form. And then they have to fill out the online submission. And finally, the final step for uploading for submission is uploading the final and complete version of their thesis and dissertation in PDF format. So meaning it has to be complete from the title page up to the last page of their thesis, including the appendices, the supplemental files, etc. So after uploading the final version, ETD coordinators will receive an email from the system informing them that there are submissions under their department that are assigned to them. So we have registered all of you in the Animo repository as ETD coordinators. From the email, you can click the link, and then you have to review the submission to see if the student complies with your department policy, the format, the completeness, the accuracy, and so on. Then after reviewing it, you have the ETD coordinator will register a decision on the submission. It's either you accept the submission without revision, or you accept the submission with minor revision, or needs a major revision or reject. And then after that, if you require the students to revise the submission, they will revise it as needed. After that, they have to again submit the revised manuscript or revised ETD, and then you will finally give your final decision or register your final decision on the revised version. Okay. After submitting all the thesis in Animo repository, for graduate students, OUR personnel will monitor the approved submissions. This is a required step for CHED submission, right? And then after that, the library personnel will review the metadata, the submission metadata, edit the metadata if necessary. We will also embed digital marking on ETD for security. And then we will also, the library personnel will insert the copyright statement page and merge the select some chapters of the entire thesis, because we're not going to upload the entire thesis in Animo repository for access copy, then we upload the access copy with the copyright statement page and digital watermarking. Before we proceed with posting and publishing the ETD repository, again, the library personnel will review the accuracy of the metadata, the final version of the access copy of each ETD. After publishing the ETD submission, then it will be made available in Animo repository. It will be searchable, and our patrons, our students, faculty can download the whatever digital contents available in each ETD record. So that's the overview of the ETD submission and management. Now I will turn you to Sarah to demonstrate on how to do this, these steps, the review and the recording of decision on the submission. All right, so Sarah, take it away. I'll stop my sharing. All right.
Okay, I'll start mine. Thank you all again for being here. I'm really excited to do this, and I'm excited to see all the work in here. So for our purposes, I'll be using the demo site. This is so I can upload non-academic work without it affecting the live site. So we have two platforms for Digital Commons. One is the demo site for things like this, for trainings and to kind of try things out. And then the other is the live site, which is the portion you will be working on. They tend to mimic each other. They tend to have a lot of similarities, but the live site is more robust. So I just wanted to point that out. So if it looks a little different, that's because it is. For your purposes, your students will normally be going here to this Animo repository and then clicking their submit research option. Then they'll scroll down to whatever department and then whatever level. So their bachelor's theses, dissertations, master's theses, and clicking on the option to submit. For our purposes, I'll be doing the same thing on the demo site. Logging in as an author. I've logged in as an author. I'll submit as the author so you can see that portion quickly. I think it's helpful for ETD coordinators because they often get questions from their students about, you know, I don't know, I saw this agreement form or things like that. The submission form looks like this as it's supposed to. So I think it's helpful to see that. So just do that quickly, and then I'll go through the entire review process that you'll be doing so that you can see that kind of from start to finish. I will try and keep an eye on the chat for questions, but I might have to hold until the end and pick that up later. I'm gonna plug in my computer so there might be. So for our purposes, I've already logged in as an author. I'll show you the login process again. When I log in as an administrator or a coordinator, it's the same no matter what. And then I'll go over to the submit research. And in this case, because it's the demo site, there's only one ETD structure. So go ahead and click on that. And they're going to see the submission agreement. And with that submission agreement, I won't go over it too much, but it's just saying, yes, I understand that there are some, you know, obligations and things like that, and they'll need to check it before they continue on. And then I'll click continue, and that will take them immediately to the submission form. The submission form has been customized with the DLSU library team. So it set all of the theses and dissertations, all ETD structures have the same format. So I'll go ahead and put in my title. Anything with this red required arrow is just as you would imagine required. The submission will not go through without information there. If there was an added title, you would do that here. The author has already been filled out because I signed in as the author, but you can always add in additional authors. So if someone has worked on a project with another person, that's completely fine. You'll see that even though I search for the author here, the author didn't appear because they haven't been added. That's all right, no problem there. I can just edit this person's information by putting in their email address, first and last name. You can also reorder them so that someone else is on top here when I would fill out this information. In this case, I'm just going to accept. You'll also put in your date of publication. You can just do the year, but of course it's always nice to do the day and the month as well. I can also change this so it's day, month, year. We can do that. Then your document type, it'll be thesis, dissertation, or oral comprehension exam. We'll choose whichever one's best, or the student will. The degree name. And some of this might have been updated for the live site. Again, because of the demo site, we don't always update it quite as quickly as the live site. We really want the live site to be correct. I'm just going to pause my share and check the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. And you know what, while I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry, I'm going to make this a little bigger. I always forget it's a little small. There. You can choose a subject category or a discipline by using the select option. You can select as many as you need. You can also remove them. And this helps with for research. Oh, I realized I stopped my share. I'm sorry. Here we go. You can select here using this option, and then you could remove it if you needed to. One of the things that this does is this puts this particular individual thesis in our digital commons network. It helps with discoverability. I recommend this a lot as just something that people should promote. If you can add a category, you should do it. It's just going to help with that. And you will add your college. Again, this is going to be as comprehensive as the live site. And then your department and unit, and I'm just picking at random, so we'll have a lot of fun ones. If there was an honor or award, you would add that information here. These fields are called WYSIWYG fields. What you see is what you get. They're exactly the same as typing and sending an email. They have the same capabilities, so. This is where you would put your thesis advisor. There are more instructions on the live site about this, about putting this in the correct order, as well as your defense panel chair and your defense panel member. And on the live site, it just says member, no chair. Then we have our abstract and summary, which again, these are some WYSIWYG fields. We'll add it here. Some of these I won't go into, the buy and the catalog. Those aren't going to appear for your students. So I'm just going to skip them. The important one is to upload your files. So this is where they're going to upload the complete ETD, thesis, dissertation, whatever it is here, as a single file. I always add a haiku. So, that would go there, but in this case, it would be a fully fleshed out paper. They can also check to add additional files if they have images, if they have data sets, if they have audio or video recordings, anything that might be additional outside of the paper of the PDF. So they can do that. They can also add an embargo period. So it's 6 months up to 2 years or none. I'll go ahead and leave it at 6 months. And then they'll submit. You'll notice they didn't add their additional files yet. So I'll be adding that in just a moment. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, all right. So then I'm going to be given the option here to upload my supplemental content, which I'll go ahead and do. And that's just the same way where you choose your file and then you upload as many as you need to. In this case, I'll just upload one. It's going to let me know that I've uploaded it with this check mark. And I'm just going to scroll over a little bit so you can see this. I can add a description. So if you'll see I've added some other things, but if this was an audio file, it's not, it's a PDF, but if it was, I could add that information in there. I can also see here that it's going to show on the live site once it's published. If it was something that was more sensitive and it didn't need to show, you could just uncheck it. Just making sure that you're saving your. So just want to make sure I'm not missing anything too crazy. Once I've uploaded all my files as the student, I'll just go ahead and click continue. And then this is going to let me know that I've successfully uploaded my thesis. I'm also going to get an email as that student that says you did indeed submit, we do have it. At this point, I could revise my submission or make another submission. The revision option is especially nice if you realize you made a spelling error or you missed a piece of information or something like that. Students are able to revise their submissions until the work is published. So that's just default for our system. However, at this stage, the student's work is done until they hear back from the ETD coordinators. They're completely finished. So what I like to do now is log out as the student and log back in as the ETD coordinator. Before I go into that back end and get into that, were there any questions about this? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and log in. If there are questions, I know it's tricky when it's a big crowd, but I'm happy to take them. I'm going to log in as an administrator. I'm going to put in my email here. For everyone on this call, it will be your @dlsu.edu account. If you are logging in for the very first time and you've never logged in before, instead of putting in the password, which is what I'll do here, you will go to click on forget your password, and that will prompt you to create a password and then log in for the first time. So just follow those prompts through to log in for the first time. So I'm just going to log on. And what this is going to do is this is going to give me some options for my profile. You can also log in via your CAS accounts on the live site, but I don't have that option here, so I'm not going to go through that process. I just logged in myself. If you log in with your CAS account, you can use your password associated with that account. So that's fine there. However, regardless of how you log in, everything either way, you can always edit your profile here. So if you had a name change or a variety of other things, you want to change your password, things like that, you can do that here. There's some other things like research alerts, follow management. I'm not going to get into that right now. It's not as relevant. However, if you ever have questions, I'm happy to help with that. There's also the dashboard tools. Those are great when you have a pretty strong set of published content. Those can be great to see more about your readership. So that's useful. But for our purposes, what I'm going to be doing is going into this manage theses and dissertations. And that's going to open into a back-end tool. And this is really where you'll probably be spending most of your time. So the state for this is always going to, for this managed theses and dissertation, is always going to default to not yet posted. And you can always change that to queued for update, posted, rejected, or withdrawn. You can also search for work by a variety of keyword filters. So as you get more and more submissions, you might be looking for something really specific, and you're welcome to do that here. And then what we're really, the good stuff is here in the bottom, where you have this manuscript ID, the author, the title, the last event. In this case, this one that I just submitted is this initial submission, when it was submitted. If it's waiting for the administrator or something from the administrator, it will have a little red dot. The red dot doesn't have any obligation with it. It's just letting you know it's waiting on something. It will also give you some other information like when it was submitted, again, and additional files. So for our purposes, I'm going to go in and look at revising the submission as an ETD coordinator, setting reviewers, and registering your decision. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And you do this by clicking on the title. All right. And what you're going to see here in this backend is that same metadata. It's going to tell you when it was submitted. If it's waiting on something, you're going to get that metadata field to have a quick look at it. So you're going to see a lot of that same information mimicked. Also, if you need to work on it as an ETD coordinator or as part of the library team, and you would like for the student to not revise it, you can go ahead and lock it. And that will ensure that students cannot work on it. Sounds like somebody has something in the background. I'm not sure if they might be able to mute that. If you need to revise the thesis as an administrator, you can always do that even after the work is posted. Authors can only do it until the work is posted, but coordinators or administrators can do that at any point. You will just go into this revise theses and dissertation section. And that's going to take you to, it's going to load up that same submission form. And all that information is going to be there already. But if you needed to do something like, say, add an additional title here, you can do that. And then everything else will stay the same. You don't need to re-upload the PDF. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to scroll on down to the bottom here. I should note you're going to start seeing some more information. That's because you're an administrator. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to keep scrolling. What we've done is we've set up the submission form so that the front-facing author side doesn't have this information because they don't need to fill that in. That's internal work. So just so it's not surprising that there's extra fields there. But what I'm interested in right now for our purposes is the reason for update.
Sarah,
just like this. Yes.
Sarah, just a quick, can you ask everyone to please put your mic into mute, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you,
Sarah, thanks.
Oh, sure. Yes, if everyone can make sure that they're muted.
Yes,
I know
please.
it's tricky.
Put your microphones into mute, please. Thank you.
And it's just on the far. Yes, I hear that. I think a chicken or a rooster.
Meron po pong naka-unmute. Oo, naka-unmute. Pa-mute po ng microphones. Thank you.
The reason to add a reason for update is, especially if you're having many people work on the structure, it gives them a kind of an insight into what you've done. Also, it's very helpful for those of us on the digital commons side. If you come to us and you say something is not as we expected here and we'd really like you to take a look, if I can look at the reason for update, it's very helpful to me to kind of follow the threads, because of course I'm not working on this day to day like you might be. So we really appreciate it. So once you've added your reason for update, you're just going to submit, just as you did before. And then you're just going to get a little notification that you've revised it. You can check this in two places. You can check this in view revisions. So you can see all kinds of things. You can see when things happened. In this case, there's not a lot. There's this initial submission and then that I added to the added title field. You'll see if someone uploaded a Word file or other types of files, you'll see that here, and then you'll see the PDF. And then the system automatically, so if someone uploaded multiple versions, if they needed to revise their submission and then come back to it and resubmit, you'll see all the versions here. So they all stack here, you never lose them. So if there's ever any question or confusion, or you just like to have all that information at your fingertips, it's always here in the back end. Additionally, you can check this in the history. And this is also very handy because what it will show you is it will show you who did the changes, and then you can look at the show changes from the initial submission. So you can see what someone did. So this comes in handy kind of maybe farther down the line when you're working on this more and when you're making additional changes. But I do like both of these options, and I think they can just be nice organizational tools. So for our purposes, I will go into the reviewer process and then registering decisions. So I'll go ahead and click here. The reviewer option has to be turned on by the DLSU staff. So if you don't see that option, you'll have to chat with them and I can help them set that up too, but that has to be turned on. So I know that these are going to be the fully submitted, but my understanding was that you would like the option to review them and to send them out to other reviewers internally. And in this case, you can use this option to do that here. So even though you might all be ETD coordinators, you might want to send it to an individual coordinator to say, hey, I need you to review this. Even though it was supposed to be the completed submission, it's not quite right. So go ahead and do that now. And you do that by entering a new reviewer. If you have a master list, I can help you add that, but in this case, I'm just going to add a new reviewer. And just like before, anything in red's required, everything else is optional. So your email address, first name, and their last name. That's going to take me to this new page. This person already has an account. That's no big deal. That's just kind of an internal thing. If you see that, it doesn't mess anything up. So what I set this at is 2 reviewers allowed. So it's a maximum of 2. You can change it on a case-by-case basis. If someone else needs to look at it, that's completely fine. And then I'll scroll on over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to request that this person review it. Just because I've suggested the person doesn't mean I've sent the request or that they've agreed to it yet. So I'll go ahead and do that. And this is going to be some default boilerplate text. This is the same no matter what. If you find that it needs to be changed a lot, you can let the library team know, and they can review what might be done about that. I am able to make changes on a case-by-case basis. The other thing that you need to notice is the review date. These are set. I just set it at the default for 21. You may not need that. This might be more informal where you say, I just need somebody to look at it, but I want to alert them. So we can always change that so it's a really long time frame or things like that. This hard date says it has to be turned in 21 days. Our system will automatically alert people that they have a review due. So this triggers our system. So in either case, so in this case with the hard date, it says by February 18th, this review needs to be turned in. The soft date is 21 days after the reviewer agrees to the review. So this is a little softer. If they didn't check their email for a few days, the clock doesn't start ticking quite yet. The two things that we do ask that you don't change, you can always change these emails on a case-by-case basis by just adding anything that you need or taking anything that you need away. There are two things that we ask that you don't change. The stays allowed right here, that pulls in that hard or soft date. So that's really important. And the other one is this link. And that is the link that allows reviewers to say, yes, I'll review, and to access the submission form. So that will be that. I'm not going to make any changes in this case. I'm just going to go ahead and send it out. Now what happens is this will be sent out to the reviewer. They'll get an email, the link will appear, the date will appear, and they are ready to go. Before I go into that process, I'm going to go ahead and show you just a couple of quick things over here where you have some options. You can re-request that they review this. You can withdraw the request. You can commit for the reviewer, and you can decline for the reviewer. So if you, when we once again see people in the hall, if you see someone in the hallway and they say, hey, I'm definitely going to do that review, I haven't had time to say I'll do it, would you just commit for me? You can do that for them if you'd like. For our purposes, I'm going to quickly log out as an administrator and log back in as the reviewer so I can finish out the process for you. I'm just going to go into my account. Log out and log back. There it is. So here you'll see now that I've logged in as the reviewer, I'm going to get different information. I'm not going to have that manage submission option. I'm not going to have the option to upload. Instead, what I'll see is these theses or dissertations for review, as well as the status, if it was and what kind of type it is here. So I'll just go ahead and click on this test ETD, which is the one we were working on. And I'm going to say I'll review it. The system by default will not let you download the PDF until you've agreed to the review. And that's the system we have in place for the live site. So if they try to, they'll get a little notification letting them know that they haven't agreed yet. So I'll say I will review it. And then in this case, they'll get another email that says, thank you for agreeing to review. And then they'll have, the reviewer will get instructions about this. So they'll say, as well as a link to the submission, the submit review form. They can also say, I'll submit it here. I will not be able to complete it. If something happened all of a sudden and they're no longer able to complete this review, they can email the other coordinators to let them know. In this case, I'm just going to submit the review from right here, since we're already logged in. And this is a very standard form. This isn't as flexible as some of our other forms, but we do have options as needed. So you can upload your report as a Word or RTF file. You can upload your report as a PDF file, or what I'm going to do is type in a little note right here. Of course, most reviews are more complex. Then you'll have these recommendations. Oh, sorry, overly. These recommendations that Ms. Yanni mentioned earlier. This is just for the reviewers who give the other ETD coordinators a quick view of what they think. So you can encourage major revisions, you can accept the article with minor or no revisions, or you can reject this article. clicking any of these options doesn't do anything. It just lets everyone know what you're kind of a quick view of your larger review. You can also include a confidential cover letter if there's something that the authors just can't see because it's sensitive in nature. You can upload that here as a Word text or PDF file, or you can copy and paste it or type it here. So that's just if something needs to be said that the author shouldn't see. Once you're done, you'll just submit your report as the reviewer and you're golden. You're completely done. You'll get a little notification that says your report's been received. You'll also get an email saying the report's been received. So we like to make sure that you're aware that your work was received by the system, so there's not confusion there. So just go ahead and log out as the reviewer and finish this final process off as the ETD coordinator. I'm just gonna log back in again. The right password is always good. I'll just go ahead and go back into this backend, go back into my manage thesis and dissertation. And then I'll go back into this test ETD. But before I do that, I do want to mention, you'll see that this last event has changed. You'll see that the review's been completed. So again, that's just a quick view. So you can always look at the report from the reviewer by going back to that reviewer sidebar. And then you'll see that this review was submitted. You'll see when it was submitted, and then you can view it here. Because I uploaded it I added it as a plain text file, I'm going to get this referee report, which is a notebook. But if someone uploads it as a Word document or a PDF or other things, you'll see it that way. And then, so once I've looked at this, once I've reviewed anything, if I need to review things, if you find that you don't need to use the review process just because it's enabled, doesn't mean you have to use it. You can skip it and say, this is ready to go. We've looked at it. We don't need to send it to anyone else, or that's not our internal workflow. We don't need that option. That's completely fine. That's no problem at all. You can go straight to this register decision, but I just wanted to make sure and mention it. So for our purposes, we've looked at the review. We've decided that we do agree. We're ready to accept it. We're going to go to our register decision options. This is going to lead you to some more boilerplate text. So you can accept with, just accept it straight out. You can accept with minor revisions. So if there's some small changes that need to be changed or need to be made, you can add them here. You can require major revisions before acceptance. And again, you put them here. And then you can reject this outright. If you choose this option, you're going to get this little pop-up. What happens if you reject something is the system says you don't need it anymore. So it won't be available for review or to be published or anything else. So you would only want to use this option if you never needed to see that, that submission ever again. If it will still exist in the back end in the sense that you can see that it's been rejected and you can access the information, but it's no longer available for review or to be posted. So I'll cancel it. I'm going to go ahead and accept this. It automatically CCs in the other administrators or ETD coordinators that have been added to the structure, and it sends a copy to the reviewers if you'd like to have them re-review it. In this case, everything gets sent to me, so I'm going to uncheck those because I get a lot of emails when I do this. So I'm just going to register my decision. I'm not going to make any changes here, so I'll take that out. And you'll see that the student will have access to the current version. So if they did end up uploading revisions or anything like that, they'll see the most recent version that's going to be published by clicking on this link and the email. Just going to take a quick sip of water. And then, so once I'm ready, I'll just say I'm going to register my decision. And it's going to tell me it's been accepted. I'm going to see it's accepted here in this last event. However, that doesn't mean that I can't say, oh, we need a minor revision. You can request that if you notice something afterward, even though you've accepted the work, just by clicking in, and you can let the student know, hey, we need you to make this one little change here. So that's always an option. And again, you can revise after the work has been published. So that's always possible. You're never locked in. I've had people email years after their ETD and they said, oh, there's a little typo or something small. It's usually very small. If someone does email me directly, I turn around and send it back to the DLSU team. So I don't make any changes to your work without checking with somebody. It's very rare that I would make changes at all. But if I do, I'm checking in. So I'm not making ad hoc changes for anyone. For your purposes, once you've registered your decision, you're completely done. So for all the ETD coordinators, this is where you end. You're done. You've registered your decision. If you requested minor changes, you can send out another registered decision and say, this time we're accepting it if you'd like, but you are completely done. I've given myself just this permission to post, which is what the library team will be doing. I just did it so you could see the final work, but in your case, you can just say, I'm done, I'm finished, I can move on to whatever's next. No, your work usually isn't done at this point, but for ETD purposes, you're done. So I'm going to post it just as if I were part of the DLSU library team. And you don't have to worry about this. I'm not even going to explain it. I just wanted you to see the finished product. And you don't even have to worry about updating. I'll log in just a minute and update it, but you don't even have to worry about that. That's again, something that the DLSU library team can do. So that is the beginning and end. I'll open it up to questions. I'll stop my share for just a minute so I can update this and so you can see it on the front end of the demo site, excuse me. But in the meantime, I will open it up to questions.
Hello. All right, thank you, Sarah, for that detailed demonstration on how to submit the ETD, review, and register a decision in Animo repository. So from the chat, we have a few questions.
Yes, sorry, I lost the connection for a minute, so I'm sorry if there's a disconnect, but I'm ready. All right.
One of the questions in the chat is this from Ms. Cherise. I quickly saw one of the terms of agreement. The abstract should be 250 words. Should the students strictly comply with this, or because for many thesis and dissertation, we usually have more than 250 words for the executive summary or abstract.
Yes, and that's completely fine. That can be changed in the configurations page as well. So that's something we can work on. The system won't stop you. So if you go over 250 words or you need it to say, you know, a maximum of 1,000 words or things like that, we can definitely make those changes. That's just kind of our default. So, but if someone did go over 250 words, the system doesn't stop them. They don't count it. So.
All right. So, but we have to change the number of words in the configuration, right?
Sure. And that's absolutely in that submission guideline. And I can absolutely help you with that.
Mm-hmm. May we know from the from the ETD coordinators, what would be the ideal number of total number of words or maximum number of words for the abstract? $350 or more or less. Okay, please type in your answer na lang po dun sa chat box, so we'll get back to you and inform Sarah about this. Right, so next question coming from Sir Matt. So will the thesis text and graphs and charts have to be submitted separately in the system? Actually, Sir Matt, there are two options. No, there are two fields for the for uploading files. One is the you have to the students have to upload the entire thesis in one single file, from preliminary pages to the appendices, references, etc. And then the second field is upload supplementary file. No? Supplementary file means it could be a video recording of the interview or audio recording of the interview, or poster images related to that ETD, but not appended or included within the ETD. So the graphs or charts that are part of the chapter 4 or the discussion and conclusion should not be submitted as a separate file in the system, but as embedded within the ETD, within the text. All right. I hope I answered your question, Sir Mark. Okay. Then another question from Ms. Cheryl. Our student thesis usually involve audiovisual production. Does the repository include options to upload media file? Sarah,
Yeah.
can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, so the system will allow both third-party streaming, so YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, or you can embed it as a native file, so it will stream directly. So you would, in that case, you would upload it as I did with the PDF, but both are options. So the short answer is there's a couple of different ways to do that.
Okay. Is there a maximum file size for media files?
There's not a maximum file size on any file. Of course, the one thing we do want to consider is visitor attention. So if something does take a long time to load or to download, if you're allowing download, then people sometimes will walk away from it. So you just want to be cautious of that. I recommend that people break things up if they're worried about a long download time or upload time or anything like that, just for the visitor's point of view. I should also note that if you are doing an embargo, I know this isn't directly related, but while we're talking about streaming, if you do have work that's embargoed, the native streaming and the embedded streaming is not embargoed. So it will still appear. So you do need to be cautious about that and make sure that you maybe don't add it until the embargo has been lifted. So just as a quick.
All right. Speaking of embargo, there was a question about that a while ago. For the embargo, we have 4 options. Oh, wait, I have to go back to the policy. Yeah, 4 options. 6 months period, 1 year, 2 years, and a maximum of 6 years. So after 6 years, the ETD will be made available in public. Okay, so When we say public, we mean the ETD version will be available to the LSU academic community only. We don't have yet open policy for our ETD. So at the moment, our policy applies only to ETD will be available to DLSU academic community. So those, if you are accessing the ETD outside the physical campus or remotely, I should say, you need to log in to your MyLaSalle account to download the digital content of each ETD. So visitors coming from different universities, like students and faculty, will not have access to our digital contents.
I do want to note this very, very quickly that if you are the administrator of an ETD structure and you're logged in, you would be able to download any submissions, even though they're embargoed, because as an administrator, sometimes you need access to that work. And sometimes that causes panic. But if you were to log out, you'll see that it's no longer accessible to you. And it's only accessible to you if you're also an administrator of the account. So just as a quick little, if you're able to download it as an administrator, please know that's expected.
All right. So are there any more questions from our attendees, from our coordinators?
I see that someone asked about Turnitin and copyright. And I do want to mention that some people do use Turnitin or ProQuest or a variety of things. I will say I am not a copyright specialist, so I don't get into the details of that specifically. But I am happy to help kind of flesh out some of the more common bigger questions. I also always recommend Ms. Yanni and Ms. Christine, they have access to the Google group. I recommend that they ask other administrators what they've done. But I will say very generally, and not as a copyright lawyer, that we don't find that this is an issue. That the two options can be separate and mutually exclusive and still be accepted in both cases.
We have one more question from Sir Melvin. Our students usually submit a part of their thesis in a conference and/or journal. Will this ETD submission cause copyright strikes in Turnitin, etc.?
And that is where it does get into specific copyright. Digital Commons has no copyright over this. We're here to support the work and support open access when you're ready to move that, but even open access within your university. So we don't have any copyright over this outside of the generalized ones. So we don't prohibit students or anyone from submitting to journals, conferences, Turnitin, anyone like that. But I do always recommend that you do go to the Google group for the site administrators and talk to other people about what they've done. We do have some Turnitin information I can send to you, Ms. Yanni and Ms. Christine and everyone, the whole group. So I can send some of that to you, but I can just say that Digital Commons doesn't have copyright over your work.
All right. Any more question?
Yanni?
Yes.
Yes. maybe they're still thinking about the questions. So I encourage everyone also, kung maisip nyo na yung questions nyo, no? I'm sure there are a lot. You can always send us an email. Well, you can email, send it through me or through Yanni, so Christine.Abrigo or Marian.Eclevia. And then the team will get back to you on your questions, and we can also coordinate it with Sarah. And also, they're asking if there will be guides coming out. We have actually created how-tos. Actually, it's a step-by-step how-to, and we have these are published, and we're going to release this through the HDA, is a help desk announcement. So, and also, I think Yanni, after this, we're going to furnish them with all the materials as well, including this recording.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, thanks. Yanni has put in all the email addresses in the chat box, so you can just refer to it. Thank you.
Did anyone have any last questions that maybe popped into their head right now?
I think before we start the session, Sir C was mentioning about Google Scholar.
Oh, yes.
Sir Eric, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
It was
your question.
it was actually answered when the digital commons was discussed. No, so copyright is not really exactly enforced here. So I guess that's okay. No, my question was already answered.
Thank you.
When your work is open access, I do want to mention it is just, and it's not right now as we've discussed, but when it is open access, or as people decide that their work should be, it is discoverable on Google and Google Scholar. We do have some search engine optimization for that, so that we can start pushing the work further. I know a lot of universities really want to work on that research outreach and academic outreach just as in general, so that those options are there. And when you're ready, I'm happy to help you. There's a whole list of things that can really push things forward, so I'm happy to help you.
I think one last question, Sarah. Can we integrate Turnitin in Digital Commons?
I'm sorry, can you integrate?
Turnitin plagiarism.
Oh, Turnitin.
Yeah.
I will definitely mention you're interested in it. As of right now, we don't have the integration possibilities, but I do know other people have asked about it, and I will, let me write myself. There we go. I will definitely mention that you're interested in that, just for everyone's, for reference. When you make a suggestion to me, I advocate it for with our product team. I can't promise that they'll use it or that they'll be able to integrate it, but I always pass it along. So, and if you have a use case you want to send my way, I'll add it into my description so that our product team knows how it's useful to you, and that helps me better advocate.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Ms. Christine, Sir Johan has a question here. Do our students know of this already, or shall ETDs orient them on this?
Yes, no. We haven't really, well, when we launched it in October, we have sent out PubMats, and we have released help desks. But right now, from here on out, no, after po nitong training, we're going to release also the guides to them. And siguro, we would organize, no, Yanni, something like we're going to create materials for the students as well, guides, and the ETDs the ETD coordinators, we might need your help on that as well. So we'll get in touch with you po.
Yeah, in addition to what Miss Christine said, the guide on how to log in Animo repository, how to submit ETD and revise submission will be included in the HTA to be released soon.
Good morning.
Yes, Sir Richard.
Do we have a policy in which for students or group of students who won't be able to accomplish this, I mean, they won't be able to upload their thesis works in the repository, can we hold them liable for it, like hold their grade or something? What are our stand about that if they failed to do this?
Miss Christine, would you like to answer the question?
Okay. Actually, it is going to, when we, kasi ganito yun, sir, no? The usual process in the old norm is that they would really need to submit to the department, right po? And then the approval would be on the level of the department and the college. So in that sense, the role of the department and the college and you being the coordinators, kayo na po yung it's actually, it's your call. Sa amin kasi, we just want to make sure that the whatever submissions that we receive, we will go through the workflow. So, ayun na po. I think the level of control would be within the department.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Right, thank you very much. I guess there are no more questions. And at this point, we would like to thank everyone for attending this training. And thank you, Sarah, for taking time to demonstrate on how to maximize the use of ETD. As mentioned by Ms. Christine, we will release the HTA soon, and we are here at the library. We're just an email away. Please let us know if you have, if you need help, if you have questions for clarification. Just email library@dlsu.edu.ph or christine.abrigo@dlsu.edu.ph or me, marian.eclevia@dlsu.edu.ph. We will be happy to assist you. As mentioned by Ms. Christine, we are together in this project. All right, so I guess that would be all. Ms. Christine, do you have final word?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for your time. I know busy tayo, no? And appreciate all of the support in the initiative of the library. And again, thank you, Sarah, for your time. That's all.
Thank you. It was really nice to see you all. Thank you for making time for this.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy Friday. Happy weekend.
Yeah, happy weekend.
I do have a question, though. Can I follow up? This is outside the session. I wanted to ask lang.
Sure, Sir Eric. Go pa ba?
My question is about reviewers. Kasi the reviewers, I don't know about other departments, no? Pero sometimes kasi, di ba, the department might have a version that is submitted by students. What if it's contentious? What if, for example, the students submitted the earlier version and it's not really the approved version that was supposedly that they should submit? Is it usually good practice to have the reviewer as the panelist so that they can check if the actual PDF file that was uploaded is the real version that they want. No, kasi sometimes kasi, some students might, for example, they block out the name of one of their classmates. So should the reviewers be the panelists as well, or should it be a third party? How's the good practice for that?
Reviewers po ng...
Kasi tama, yung PDF file kasi minsan, example lang in the scenario na kunyari may isang thesis group na nag-away-away. Tapos tinanggal nila yung pangalan ng isang ka-groupmate nila dun sa final version na sinabit nila. Tapos minsan, let's say, di ba minsan...
may ganong dispute.
Paano pag nakalusot? Di ba? Paano pag nakalusot yon? Kunyari, yung coordinator hindi napansin. Dalawa na lang pala yung pangalan doon. Pero originally dapat 3. So di ba minsan dapat may oversight din na kasi yung thesis coordinator, kinokolekta niya lang naman yung mga thesis Pero hindi siya yung may alam kung ano yung content ng thesis. So tama ba na
ganun pala.
hindi kaya dapat yung best practice yung mga panelists din? Kasi para yung panelists magche-check kung ito ba yung version na sinabit sa kanila, including yung mga revisions na require nila. Tama ba yun? Ganun ba dapat yung best practice dito? I know, ano lang to, specific lang to siguro sa
Pero
department.
Diba?
Sige.
Sir,
Kasi, sige, Yani.
Sir Eric,
Yes.
currently ngayon, paano po yung practice natin sa department ninyo? How do you know na yung 'di ba, sinasabit nila ngayon
Yes.
Yung completeness, no?
Yeah, yung completeness, yung sa drive nila sinasubmit or email nila sinasubmit or previously CD, no? So
Tama.
how do you check po? How do you check?
Actually, pag sinasubmit sa CD, hindi na namin na-check di ba? Kaya in a way, parang feeling ko nga blind spot namin yan Pag sinubmit nila as a CD, we're trusting that the students submitted on the CD is the exact approved version na dapat sinubmit nila. Diba? Pero minsan kasi diba para makauna kasi sa deadline, diba? Kasi may deadline minsan. Minsan hindi mo na-check yun if that's the correct version talaga Tapos pag in-upload na, pag binigay na sa library, syempre parang hindi na natin alam until siguro years later bago lang may mapapansin. So, yung question ko, yung tama ba yung review dapat? Di kaya dapat yung mga reviewers is the panelists para sila din magche-check para to say na, I'm signing off on this. This is the version na talagang in-approve ko. At hindi to yung isang previous copy lang na yung thesis 3 nung before nag-oral defense, ito lang sinabit nila.
Yeah, sir, my point kayo dyan.
Diba?
And we can look into that. Pero kasi currently, yung workflow na in-adapt natin, yung pinesent natin kanina, was basically, based po siya sa current practices ngayon. So, with your yung
possible, yung scenario na
yung
kinakwento
scenario
ko.
na ganyan, baka it has to be emanate from the department level or the college level. And then, should you decide on including panelists in the process, we can adjust the workflow. Then we could include the advisor or the panel member to have access to the submission.
Yes. So I don't feel comfortable talking about it in public, pero syempre minsan sometimes in my department, so some students may submit in the undergrad level not really the good version. Kaya sometimes we overlook it, and the presumption is always trust. Diba? You trust the students, the submitted version is actually the good one. So we just want to make sure there are some safeguards in place so that oversights may not happen.
We can
I'm
take
so
a
sorry.
look.
I'm so sorry, everyone. Do you mind if I stop the recording? I was just going
go
to
ahead.
sign
Sorry.
off for the day.
Sorry.
No. I didn't want to kick everyone off, but I'm afraid if I close my computer, you'll all lose it and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
It's okay. Sir Eric, noted na namin.
So I'm on record.
Yeah, but
you can always cut that part out.
Yes, of course.
But yes, Sir Eric, we have noted. Sige, we can just
Yes.
talk about it also.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful morning.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.